You have those 3-4 hour conversations, or yeah, I mean, I've been on the phone for 3 hours explaining an inspection report and going through every small detail just to make sure my buyer felt very comfortable getting into this and moving forward, and they need that, and that's what I saw they needed. So yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that I was signing up for that, but would I change it? No, because it helps build those relationships just that much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah.
Today, I have two young superstar real estate agents with us to learn what they are doing. One is a top producer at her brokerage. The other was Rookie of the Year. They both worked briefly in the medical field before making the move over to real estate. Let's welcome these two friends with Exit One Stop Realty, Hannah Collins, Flakus and Madison Yates to the show. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
If we sound fast to the audience listening, it's because I had to do a little retake, but we are back in action. That's when you produce your own show and things like that happen. So,
isn't technology?
Love it.
Both of you grew up in the area, born and raised. You guys played softball together at one time, but didn't go to the same high schools.
Right.
Okay. But Madison, I'm going to kick off for you. Tell us a little about growing up here in Jacksonville and going to Bishop Kenny, and then eventually you go on to UNF, and tell us a little about what'd you visualize yourself as a career moving forward as a young person?
Yeah, like you said, I was born and raised here, went to BK, loved it, and then ended up getting a full ride to UNF, which is why I chose to go to UNF. I wanted to go in other places, but when you get a full ride, you got to go with it. So I envisioned myself being a PA, so a physician's assistant. Going through private school, you see the main track of like doctors, lawyers being super successful. So that's kind of what I had in mind. And really wanted to move forward with that. I also knew that student loans were going to be at play, and that was kind of like, I don't want to take all this debt on, even though I'll be making great money as a PA if I make it through. You know, student debt is kind of scary. So that's what kind of got my mind thinking, what else can I do that's non-conventional? And my mind kind of drew to real estate. You have the idea of real estate, HGTV. TV. I can never say it. Yeah.
Get that tongue down and
exactly
your teeth together.
Yeah, but that was kind of my idea going into it. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. And I mean, it's still great. But
Hannah's sitting right next to you. Obviously, she's got about 12 months on you as far as being in the career. I mean, were you watching what she was doing and interacting with her? And, obviously there must have been a period of time where you were thinking about it. It wasn't like, you know what, I'm done with this tomorrow. I'm going to start real estate.
Yeah, no. I was definitely like stalking her account. Like for a little bit there.
She DM'd me on Instagram.
I slid in. I was like, hey girl, like, what's it like? What's going on? Like, I honestly, the main question I asked to you and to Rebecca Forbes, who's another agent with Exit, was what's the daily, day-to-day life? You can't put that into words. Every day changes.
Right.
And I couldn't get that through my head. I was like, you make your own schedule. What the heck? Yeah. You should know what your day-to-day, you can't tell people what it is. So she invited me to one of the classes at Exit, and I got to sit in and kind of understand one of the small parts of what it is to be a real estate agent. And I love the environment and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked in detail. She told me the course she used, which
it was a little simple DM, and she just was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Can you kind of explain to me what you do and if you like it? And was
she your first official sponsorship that you technically are credited for?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So me and Rebecca both split her because we both knew Maddie.
Yeah.
And so it's a 5%. That's the beautiful thing about Exit is you can sponsor people in. I don't like to say recruit because that sounds very salesy and people don't like to be recruited. But yes, I get a piece of everything that Maddie does, and so this year has been very great. I love my surprise bonuses in my bank account. But I get 5% of what she does up to $5,000. And so if you sponsor in somebody, if I, like one of my friends, she just joined from Providence, who I went to school with, I sponsored her, and so I'm going to get 10% of everything she does up to $10,000 for a year.
Right. And let's be clear to those who are not in the real estate business, maybe friends who might be watching that actually don't, it's not 10% of the sale, or like an agent might get 3 or 6% if they're doing both sides or whatever.
Right,
it's actually what their actual commission is. Correct. They're getting a little piece of that action here, but it adds up.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
Your dad's told me over the year, he's been in the business 15 plus years or whatever, it adds up as you're in the business and it's
incredible. And
casually just talking to people, or people come to you a lot of times, right?
Yeah. And if you think about it, if I had 5 agents who were successful top producing agents at their brokerage come over to Exit, and I sponsored them in to our brokerage, and they were doing $10,000 worth for me to receive that's an extra $50,000 that I'm getting per year.
Right.
And people don't realize that. And you can bring that into your retirement too. Even if you retire, you still are like their sponsor, you just get less of a percentage. So the percentages change, and we would love to talk to people about sponsoring.
If you just put that into some investment vehicle, you actually discipline yourself that I'm not going to use that for
put everything
vacation.
I get
That's
from
actually
sponsoring
going into my retirement fund. You could do that, especially obviously you guys at a young age aren't really thinking about that, but if you want to be able to retire early or whatever, doing those type of things.
Yeah.
Hannah, you grew up here.
I did.
You go to Providence.
I went to Providence, kindergarten to 12th grade. I was ready to get out of Jacksonville, so I was not like Maddie. I left.
Hey, I would have left too, but
I'm a homebody, so it was difficult. But I went to FAU, Florida Atlantic University, down in Boca. I was there for 4 years. Well, not really. I graduated early. I was a go-getter, and I took a lot of credits every semester because I was like, I don't want to be here 4 years if I don't have to. And I was in college during COVID, so it kind of changed things too, like doing online classes and stuff like that. But I was in a sorority there. I was an 80 Pi. I majored in exercise science. I was hoping to go into physical therapy and realized I didn't want to go to school for 3 more years. I would rather get married and have a kid, which is not the normal mindset, but tried shadowing physical therapy. I really did like it, but then realized how much it costs to go to physical therapy school, and I just wasn't ready to swallow that pill yet. Jumping into student loans is scary, and I just didn't want to have to deal with that.
I mean, just you have to be some sort of passion, right? I mean, it's because now you come to a juncture, right? You finish your undergrad, you're like, do I want to continue doing this? Am I really excited about it?
Yeah, well, and I think I had the heart for helping people and helping people get better, and I liked that side of it.
Yep.
But the side of being in an office or a hospital or whatever it was for 5 days a week for 12-hour shifts or whatever it was, I was like, that doesn't excite me. Like, that does not make me excited about helping people. And that's what I love to do. So I was like, maybe I should try, pediatrics or whatever. So I ended up switching my mindset, and I was like, well, maybe I should try nursing. Nursing's a little different. I could work like 3 days on, 4 days off, whatever it was. I was like, the schedule thing sounds much better to me. Tried being a nursing assistant at a hospital in town, and I was on a unit. I think it was a renal med surg unit, and I realized this is not for me. It was a bunch of older people, very sad atmosphere. People were overworked. Towards the end of COVID, I saw a lot of things I didn't want to see. Yeah, just was sad.
Well, since we're on take 2, but you going back because you were talking about sad,
right?
Which a lot of times you walk into a hospital. I guess maybe unless you're in the where they're having babies, right? That for the most part, hopefully most of the time.
That can be sad too.
That can be sad too. It's just something happened, but I'm trying to think of what you would go to the hospital for something that would be
good,
joyous, right?
I know. I mean,
you really think about it.
Well, and I would get in trouble on my unit because we were understaffed and we didn't have enough people, and I was in charge of 12 rooms at one time by myself with nurses, and I would get in trouble for sitting in people's rooms who were lonely. Like, they were like, I just want to talk to people. I want they didn't have family members coming to visit them. And I would sit in there and be like, you want to color? Let's color. Let's watch an episode of something on TV. And I would get in trouble because I'm like sitting there almost like babysitting them in a way. And I'm supposed to be out working, but that's my heart. I would rather spend time with the people, have the relationship. I feel bad for them,
Agreed.
So that's where my heart was.
A new question. With both of you have the background, you wanted to help people, that you feel you're comfortable doing that. Being in especially in the hospital, you're walking in and you are in control of that conversation because you are the authority in the room, dealing with whoever illness or whatever it might be. How do you translate that now as young people? You're 24, Matt, you say maybe 23, 24 years old, and now you're working with those older customers, but you still have that take charge of the room type attitude that a medical person typically has. Because if a medical person doesn't come in and take charge of the room, the person sitting there is going,
so uncomfortable.
Do I trust you? Do I not trust you?
How do you ever think about that part of the psychology when you're talking to older buyers and sellers?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think the medical field helped me tremendously when it comes to conversation, problem solving, and active listening. That is really what has gotten me into conversations where they look at me and they're like, you're very young. I don't know if I should trust you with my house, my biggest investment I've ever made. But then I open my mouth and they're like, you've been doing this for years? And I'm like, sure. No.
You're an old soul.
Yeah. I mean, just being super active listening, taking what they're saying and then putting it into action, realizing that you're understanding what they're saying. Because a lot of people, they just don't understand what they're asking for. So just really understanding your customer and just doing what needs to be done. Yeah, so active listening is a big.
Listening is definitely one of the most important things in our business.
Agreed, yeah.
I mean, if you're not listening to somebody and you're just running the show, it's like, how can they trust you?
Right.
They get to know you as a person. They just know you as their transaction coordinator, basically.
Exactly.
So, Matt, transitioning over, like I said, you told me a little bit about your parents earlier. They worked very hard, put you in the best schools that they could possibly put you in.
Yeah.
Hopefully to give you this path. And then you go in. And really, I think some of our biggest naysayers in life can be people who are closest to us. And I know you guys have been doing some personal developments, just listening to your talk, where they're saying, it's the 5 people you hang around with. I got, this book up here by Heather Monahan. The villains are those naysayers.
Yeah.
In our life. When you started talking to those who are close to you and love you about, I think I may want to do real estate. What's kind of the reaction in the room that you're getting?
Well, when they knew I was going, I wanted to go the medical route. They were like, "Oh yeah, do it. That'd be great. That'd be a great pivot from where your family has come from." Yeah. And then when I mentioned real estate, they were like, "That's kind of a hard one, like you have to make your business you don't have anybody guiding you. Like I didn't have, a dad that was in the business. I have had great mentors, but nobody that I don't know. I was going to
even familiar
your
with
aunt
real estate,
wasn't in the business.
Yeah.
There was no cousins, nothing, or best friend or anything. Well, I mean, no older best friend.
Right.
Like you're one of your parents' best friends
who
may have had influence on them saying, well, Sally over here, we've known her for 20 years and she does great.
Yeah. So they were looking at me and they're like, you just opened a whole new world and I don't even know how to guide you. It was really they couldn't guide me and they'd never started a business. So even the LLC, doing all that stuff, was just figure it out. Mm-hmm. This is me just YouTubing stuff and asking my mentor, and that's really the resources I've been using. So they were like, maybe just try to go into nursing and do real estate on the side, try to have a set career. And I was like, real estate is a set career. It can be if I work hard enough for it. So that's really, right now, I'm showing them up is what I'm doing.
Well, has the conversation changed?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They see that
now they're trying to find people to refer you.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%. No, yeah. I mean, I just bought a house. My boyfriend just bought a house and we had a housewarming party this weekend and I actually got a listing appointment at the housewarming party. Awesome. Because his best friend, he was like, my parents are trying to sell their house and they're trying to do it as a FSBO. And I was like, let me tell them and guide them what they need to know as a FSBO.
Yeah.
And it really turned the conversation. They're like, it sounds like you're a realtor. And I was like, yeah.
Like you're not trying to do it for them.
Yeah.
You're just providing them the information and saying, here, I want to help you.
Yeah.
And then in turn, they're like,
well, it seems like you've got it down early because you didn't start in 21 when it was, hey, how fast can I get a real estate agent to sell the house? Yeah. Rates are so low and everyone's running around. Now you actually, because they thought they were going to save something, right? Why did they want to sell it themselves? What was their initial mindset?
So their mindset was, they bought it in 98. So they've been sitting on the equity for a while. They wanted a specific amount, but they knew that commissions, they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to lose so much money in commissions. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let me tell you though, what you need to know to actively list your house and get it sold in the time frame that you want it to be sold.
And get the best
price for it, offer. Yeah. I laid it all down. I was like, are you ready to do the marketing? Are you ready to do the open houses? Are you ready to make answer the phone calls, make the phone calls, have people knocking at your door? Are you ready to do all that? And I mean, it entails way more than just that. But do you know how to read contracts, write contracts? Are you going to have a lawyer look it over? Because you're not having a real estate agent that looks at them regularly, go through the motions with you. And she's, I didn't even think about any of that. Yeah. I was like, there are things to think about. Like, they are, like, we provide services that are so fundamental and deals and that could save you so much more money because you don't know how to negotiate. Like, you don't know how to, you didn't know you could get closing cost money, put toward, all that type of stuff.
How to structure the deal or counter offer and stuff. Because even when you have buyers who are unrepresented, you may be representing the seller and these buyers come to you and they're unrepresented. You're like, well, why don't you have representation?
Yes.
That mind boggles me because our market right now in the mortgage world, almost every deal right now has extra puzzle pieces to it. Mm-hmm. What I'm finding is talking to agents, every listing and buyer side all have extra little contingencies, whether it's the obvious one, someone may have to sell a home, that's common, but someone may have to do a lease back for a couple months. I mean, there's all these extra little things. They want to keep the refrigerator or they don't or whatever. Yeah. And these things go back and forth. And when you imagine one of the things that you probably mentioned to them as well is you're not emotional in the transaction. Yeah. You're trying to just satisfy two people, the buyer and seller, type of thing, and make the transaction work because you have someone who wants to sell and you have someone who wants to buy. They're getting emotional. Oh, I want that refrigerator. Oh, do you really want that refrigerator? It's already 8 years old. Yeah. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And you start bringing common sense to them and bringing them down and then obviously filtering their emotions to the contract.
That was actually a really hard thing for me to learn at first. In my first deal, Jade White was my mentor and she did a fantastic job. And I'm a lover. I love to help people. And my first deal was a sphere of influence deal. And it was the emotion. And she was like, you can't get involved in the emotion. Mm-hmm. You have to be that middle ground person, the mediator that's kind of helping both parties. And in that first year, I was like, wow. And I just feel like it was handled very well because she smoothed things and she calmed me down and she told me how to, get through it. Mm-hmm. And it just really, from there, I'm like, okay, no more emotion in deals. And yes, so being non-emotional in the deals has been super pivotal. And for those FSBO people that, are trying to sell their own houses and getting caught up in that emotion.
You just gave me a brilliant idea listening to that go on because I've obviously heard hundreds of other stories, right?
Yeah.
1,000 stories of situations where a real estate agent has come in and made it. Well, and some people don't even realize what you did. Because you're doing a lot of stuff that's not out there. But to start a journal of every transaction and note the pivotal points where you had to come in and make a key recommendation. Mm-hmm. We should counter with this. No, we shouldn't ask for that repair. And how that actually made the transaction better because of your expertise. Because when it goes back to creating videos or talking like we're talking here and how you guys add value to your customers, sometimes we forget a lot of the things that we actually did.
That's very true.
Yeah.
You get so caught up in the crazy of the deal and you're like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Like, how did we get this to the closing table? It is beneficial to bring that to a potential buyer or seller who you're interviewing, basically, for them to use you and say, well, look what I did for this person. X, Y, Z, tell them everything you did. And then they look at you like, wow, they do a lot more than this. Because I feel like a lot of people look at us like, oh, they're all about the commission check.
Yeah.
What are they really going to do that I can't do?
Or really that it is just, oh, well, they just created that contract. Attorney's going to charge me whatever an hour to do that. Yeah. And they sent it over and I e-signed it and it went back and forth. But, they don't know you're out picking the weeds. You're out doing some stuff like maybe when the seller's not looking, you're going and adjusing some things so it looks better for a walkthrough. Whatever it might be. There's a lot of things going on. And it just, that actually, to either journal it or actually create a video, store them on YouTube. You can keep them private. You don't have to put them public. But even to go back, so you let some time go by before you release it. That way the person doesn't know that you're talking. But they might not even care. You don't have to use names. Yeah. Just say, hey, my latest transaction, this is what was going on.
Yeah.
And to really journalize that because I think, of course, you could always, I'm just thinking, a potential buyer or seller, and they're talking to you about, and they haven't actually hired you yet,
right?
To go, hey, take a look at my private YouTube page. I log in all the things that I've done with my buyers, and they're just short little 2 or 3 minute videos where I go through some of the road bumps that we go through to prepare you for things that might happen, and I know how to handle them.
That's smart.
Right.
That's just something that
That
just
is
came
a
to me
really
while we were
good
just
idea.
talking here. Yeah.
And every deal is so different. I mean,
Yeah.
I just had a deal recently that was like a breeze, and I was like, I mean,
what did I do?
I helped them. I know I helped them, and this is a very amazing thing for their family, like buying a new home. This is their first home. So I know this was like huge for them, but it was so much easier compared to other things that I have going right now. Every situation is just so different.
Yeah.
So to write it down, I'm a writing down person, writing everything down and looking back on it and being able to tell people, I did this for these people, I did this for these people.
Yeah.
You might lie somewhere in between. You might be on the outside. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I have experience in these things.
I gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Because I will get to, I'm out of them right now, but we have these nice, the bank gave me nice notebooks, really nice notebooks so you guys can take notes.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna get them to you. I want you to write down after your transaction's over all the things that you did.
Well, and as it's going, I think that's the most important.
Yeah.
As your transaction's going, because you do forget.
Yeah.
Like if you have a phone call with someone, and you're on to your next deal, and you're not really thinking about it, but as you're going, you're keeping something next to you, and just
how many times
down.
you talked about being a therapist as one of our jobs earlier. Did you mark down the hours that you were the therapist? Because some of these conversations go on for 5 minutes, some of them go on for 45 minutes, who knows, over an hour. And you're talking about different things, and some of it's you add that social part of it. But a lot of it's for you to gain credibility, for them to like you, but also to make them feel comfortable because it's stressful for them. Is this the best offer?
Right.
Is this deal going to go through? If this deal doesn't go through, I can't buy the house I want to buy. That type of thing. What's going to be delayed? That type of thing. I mean, all these stresses when people are moving, they're going somewhere else, right? There's this whole thing going on.
Oh, it's so stressful. And I don't think people realize how stressful it is until they do it. And like for me, even me and my husband were talking about moving recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forget how stressful it is for somebody to buy a house or to list their house and get their house ready to sell. Like, it is stressful. So once you realize how much it is, your heart really goes out to them. Like, I'm sure when your boyfriend was moving, you were like, oh my word. But it gives you a new respect for the people who are doing it, and you're like, let's do this together. Like, I'm here to help you. I'm your guidance counselor. I'm your therapist. I'm your negotiator. Like, I'm here for all these things that you need me for.
Well, it just brings, we have a lot of military in the area, and there's some people who specialize in military relocation. Well, what does that actually mean? Go through and journal the situations of the different, especially active duty members that are moving, and the logistics that goes involved in doing that. Well, let's step back. Hannah, you're in the medical field. Mom and dad are happy. They're telling everybody, oh, Hannah's got her degree. She's doing this, doing that, right? As parents do. But there comes a point where you go to Jan and Walter and say, I'm really not happy in this field. And was there anything else other than real estate? Or real estate was like, because you knew real estate because your parents?
I knew real estate, but I never wanted to be in real estate.
Right.
It was always more of a stubborn thing, like coming from my own self. Like, I was like, I'm not going to follow mom and dad. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do my own thing. That's just how I was. I'm very independent. I want to make my own decisions, and I thought I was going to do physical therapy. Then my mind kind of switched. I was like, well, maybe a fast track nursing program. And I was like, but I've never even been around any nursing, so I don't know anything about it. So I became a CNA, a nursing assistant, worked at a hospital here in town, and realized this is not for me. I'm not ready to do it. And I was like, well, what the heck am I going to do? I got to figure something out. And I was like, you know what? Mom and Dad, I think I'm going to try real estate. And they were like, okay, are you sure? Are you sure you're not doing this just because we're in it and we're your parents? We don't want you to feel like you are having to do this. And we don't want you to feel like, because I was in a relationship and we were progressing very quickly and very serious, and they didn't want me to choose something just based off the path that I was kind of going down.
The path you thought you wanted to be on.
Yeah, they wanted to make sure that I was doing something because I loved it and I wanted to be in it, and I didn't know if I was going to love real estate.
Right.
And I said, but you know what? I'm going to try. I know I have to take a course. I know I have to take a state exam. Who knows how long it's going to take me to get through that. I was in the middle of planning a wedding too, and that's a full-time job in itself. I was like, I'm just going to try. Let's see what happens. Ended up taking it, passed the exam, got into it, started the mentorship program, the roadmap to results program that Exit offers, all the training and stuff. And I realized, okay, I do like this. But for a while, my parents were like, I don't know if this is what you really want to be doing.
I mean, I think if any parents are you willing to put forth, because they know what it takes, right?
Yeah.
They know, which is good, because they could have said, well, I did it, she could do it.
Right.
That's not true.
No, yeah.
It's a different mindset.
Personalities are different. I'm so different than my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad has been in the business for 25 plus years, I think. But it's like, me and him are so different. We do things so differently. Mm-hmm. He is so about the numbers, so about, all those things, the contracts, all that stuff. I'm like relationship guru. Mm. Like, I want to make a relationship with you. I want to get in front of your face. I want to talk to you. And I want you to start trusting me.
Right.
And I want to show you that I can do this.
Right.
And he's kind of like, I can do this. Like, I've been in this for a long time. People trust him. They know him. They're like, yeah, he's going to get it done. Yeah. But I have to kind of prove that. So I feel like we're on very different levels. And I mean, he has his group of people, and we have a lot of the same sphere, just, me growing up in Deerwood and like being a swim coach for the swim team. He knows a lot of people that I know, but we also have very different people as well. And that's what's so beautiful about our, team, that we can both bring different things to the table. And I never did this because of my parents. Like,
right. Well, you never would have known about real estate as an option if it wasn't for them.
That's true.
As I do believe strongly that a lot of us, not everyone, but a lot of us, obviously, we do something that we've been exposed to, because you only know what you know, right?
Right.
If you didn't know anything about real estate,
right.
Your dad worked for the government or something, you might have thought about taking a government job.
That's very true.
Or your mom did.
Growing up around it and seeing it, but I really only heard, the business analytical side of things. I didn't hear much about the transaction side of things or things that you can do. I didn't know too much about the business. So even though I grew up around it, I just heard little things here and there. And I honestly, when you're a kid and your parents are talking about their job, you're kind of not listening.
Yeah.
You're kind of just, okay. I never really was involved in that kind of stuff. I mean, I did, when I was 13 maybe, I worked with my dad for a summer, and I was filing papers for him. But I was doing nothing real estate related. Yeah. I was taking papers, putting them in a scanner, changing the names of the documents online. It was nothing real estate related. So I didn't know if I was going to like it or not, but I said, I'm going to try. I've tried nursing. I didn't like it. It's all about trying something. And I'm going to try real estate. It's going to cost me probably a couple $1,000s to get myself started and going.
Well, if you're going to do it, I mean, it's not like you're 53 doing it.
Right.
You're 22, 23. If you ended up not liking it, went broke,
I would have time to figure something else out.
Yeah, you go back to medical field or whatever you want to do. Maddie, tell us about, you make this decision, you're going to go into real estate, the first days that you're coming in, you spoke about talking to other brokers.
Yes.
And take one. you talked to other brokers, but you chose Exit. Tell us about your choice in Exit. Why you chose at least Exit One Stop. Yeah. And there's other exits. There's a couple other exits there, and they're different. They're run by different. I'm not saying Exit's the only one.
And we're an international company as well.
It's everywhere. But it really comes down to who's on the ground, right? Who's running the local office really is what's going to make your career. Because a lot of these big corporate, Keller Williams does really well with training. I always joke with everyone tells me they went to their brokerage because of the training or the technology. Well, a lot of them have the tech, enough tech. A lot of them have enough training being supplied, because that's why the big corporate shows their values by producing the trainings for you, right? Yeah. So they're going to produce those trainings, but really how that local, as you mentioned earlier, walking into the office and that was your comfortability. Yeah. Tell us about how, the first days to weeks, how important was in what you were doing and how they got you off, because you really got off to a great start.
Yeah. So like I said, I interviewed with a couple of different brokerages. I just heard that was the thing to do. Don't just, go for one. Mm-hmm. Definitely interview out. And honestly, from what I could tell the difference, Exit One Stop, they just had such an atmosphere. I walked in there for my interview and I had 12 hellos and I felt like a rock star walking in there. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, everybody knows me. Yeah. No, everybody was so welcoming, and it was very nice walking into something feeling so wanted. And all the other brokerages, like, I had fantastic conversations with either the broker or the trainer, and I just didn't feel like they had the atmosphere that Exit did. There wasn't otherwise either no one in office or people like work from home, which is one of the perks of our job. You can work from home. But there was actually people in office, and that really keeps you like accountable. And that's what I've learned too, is like you need that accountability to make it through this business. Or if you're going to be like, if you feel like alone, you're just going to stay alone. So, and even going into the interview with Walter and Jade, they really were like real with what it takes to kind of make it in the business. They weren't like, yeah, go through our course and you'll do it. Like, you'll do the thing. No, they were like, hey, this is what it's going to take. Who do you have to help you back you up? Like, financial, because I'm young and I'm getting into this, and finances are a thing when you're starting a business. And they were really real with me, and I really appreciated it. So that's just kind of why I went with Exit. The atmosphere, the community, the accountability, and just them being super real with me. So. Well,
I mean, you learned early, obviously her family's running the business over there with Valerie.
Yep.
So she's either she likes her family or not.
I had no choice.
Maybe one day she divorces mom and dad. We don't know.
Never mom and dad.
But obviously you got some good advice.
Yeah.
To go out, and you went with where your heart felt the most comfortable.
Yes.
Going. I think too many agents, and trust me, talking to people who've been in the business 20 years, 5 years, whatever. Some of them have made that a big mistake in the brokerage that they went. They didn't understand where does the brokerage play in the overall game of your business, because you are 1099. Like I said, you guys were saying earlier, I could be my own boss. Yeah, you can, but you also need some accountability for someone to help you structure that day.
Well, and people get caught in and drawn to higher splits or whatever it is. Like, they want that gold shiny object that's waving in front of their face, and they think it's the best thing for them. And they get there and they realize, who has my back? Right. Who's teaching me how to do this? Especially new agents. Like, we have to be walked through every step of the way. Like, to be honest, your state exam is nothing like our business.
No.
Like, I looked at that state exam and I'm like, what? And then I get in the business and I'm like, where was all this stuff? Yeah, it's so different. So you are like studying your butt off for this one thing, the exam, and you think that when you go in, you know it all, and you do not know it all. And everything is very different. Every deal is very different. Every situation's different. The people you deal with are very different.
Yeah.
And I think people get so distracted by, I need to make the most money I can.
Right.
But are you going to make the most money you can if you don't have that support system and the training and all those people? Like, I mean, love Exit.
That is a real right there. You are 100% spot on. You know that at 24 years old, that some of these people, even coming from corporate America and having great jobs and transitioning, again, looking at what my split is versus what do I need as a business person at this moment in time in my cycle.
Can you maximize your potential?
Right.
Without having those extra, I don't know, those extra things like the mentorship or the accountability or even just the resources.
Even just the social events and doing things other than your job.
Yeah.
Going to a happy hour with your fellow associates who you have gotten to know, or bringing an agent that you worked a deal with, who you really liked and you would love to bring into Exit.
Agreed.
Like, having those other opportunities and things outside of your work, I feel like grows you as a person.
Right.
And people get so distracted by, I need that 100%. I need that 100%. But if you were at 100%, a place with 100% commission, and then you were at a place with an 80% or 70%, whatever you're at, are you really making more money over here?
Right.
If you're not getting all this extra push and support and all that kind of stuff from a family atmosphere,
Well, in go back to the numbers. So now you said your dad's into a numbers guy. Okay, so I can get 2 deals. I'm getting 100% commission, but there's usually a broker fee, whatever. So it's not quite 100%.
Yeah, there's
versus having the right mentorship, tutelage, marketing training, whatever it is, talking to other agents in the office, because a lot of these 100% commission don't really have, really offices where you're walking in and getting 12 people saying hi to you.
Yeah.
Could you have gotten a 3rd deal or a 4th deal? Because you've been in the business and now you're in the business, so you and your dad are having different conversations, right? That going back to that sphere of influence and knowing that you got an extra 6 clients a year that did something with you, now you can market to them. There's 6 more people out there praising you and referring you.
Well, and I think your customers also really want to see that you are getting the training and support you need. Yeah. If you're on your own and you don't have somebody to lean on, if there's something blows up in your deal and you need help and you don't have somebody that you trust, like a broker or whoever, to lean on and say, help me, what can I do?
Yeah.
They want to, your customers want to see that. And that's another thing, like when we get trained, exit pushes, like, tell your customers that you are getting trained. You are going to this training and you are doing it for them and for your business. And people will take that a different way. Like, they're like, oh, she got this award because of us. Instead of saying, look at me. Right. Like, it's really, I got a top producer award because of my customers. I would not have been able to do it.
Go back to that journaling.
Yeah. Right.
You go and take the course. I think it would be great for each of you when you come out of even a continuing ed or even just a lunch and learn where you learn something.
Yeah.
And actually, put the phone there and say, man, I just came out of this great training.
Yep.
And we were talking about this, and this is the nugget that I got from it. This is, I didn't think it was quite that way, and they explained it really well. Now I have a better picture. Yeah. I'm a better real estate agent today. Click.
Even that in the trainings, and like when we're delivering pop buys, like posting that you're out delivering pop buys, people are like, wait, I want one. Yeah. And then you start to talk to people and they're like, how do I get on your list to get a pop buy? Like, it's like people want to be involved.
I'm out getting candy bars away.
Yeah. They want the free stuff. Like, who doesn't? I want a present delivered to my house. I mean, I just feel if you're showing them what you're doing, people think that real estate agents just, don't do much during the day, and they don't understand what we are doing.
Well, and again, when closing on 190 episodes, most of them being obviously real estate agents, there are some young agents like yourself that got on social media and really, are talking, and you still see them today. And now they've been in the business, some of them, 6 to 10 years. They're still going, hey, I'm on my way to a listing. I'm on my way to here. They don't understand.
Do you have any questions or whatever? Yeah, I think.
But I think where we're missing, that's good. That's kind of like a tip of the iceberg. But I think even going back and saying, hey, I just got done finishing this listing appointment, or I had a listing appointment last month. I want to tell you about it now that the house is sold. When I went on this listing, the challenges these sellers had.
They needed to paint their house before. These are things that you can be doing to get your house ready if you want to list. Even if you don't want to list, at least you're staying on top of the current what's going on.
Going back, I mean, how many times in the agency you run across it all the time? You walk into the house. And I'll give this story to add value, and you guys can add to it. My wife went to a listing. There was confusion. Another agent sent a listing contract to the husband. The husband actually e-signed it. Oh. My wife goes out there, had made an appointment with the wife, and walks in the house. Is like, this isn't ready for pictures. Nothing. Oh. Well, they went back to the other agent and said, well, we want to use Jennifer, and the other people were like, oh, well, we scheduled photographs and stuff. That agent hadn't even stepped in the house that they were going to list and not realized it wasn't ready for pictures. And how important is it to present those pictures and present the house?
So important.
It's your credibility, it's your reputation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Whether it's today or 2 years from now, someone Googles the house, your pictures are probably going to be the ones that's going to show up on Zillow.
Oh, yeah.
That's why our brokerage pushes get the professional pictures taken.
It's so worth it.
As a reward for you getting those taken when you have a listing. Here is, I forget the amount.
It's like
$50 in your marketing dollars that you get to use for postcards to send out when that thing sells. for you to get anything you need, whatever you want, open house signs, writers for your for sale signs, whatever you want in those marketing dollars. But we push so hard, that is your name. And as a professional, you need to look professional online as well. And I see so many listings on
every
MLS.
transactions, because people can go back.
Everything.
You don't know what people are doing online.
No.
In searching. They can find out what you've done.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if that friend refers you, says, "Oh, go with Maddie, she's great," and they Google, let me see what Maddie does, and pull up your current
iPhone photos,
or Google that person referred you. You may have done the iPhone photos on that thing, and they Google that person who referred me, and said, "Oh my God, that's her photos."
Yeah. Well, and on top of the photos, when your sign is in that person's yard, people are driving by and seeing your name on that sign.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a big deal. The professionalism. We recently had a roundtable talk at our office on professionalism, and Valerie said, "What makes somebody a professional?" And there's so many things that go into making somebody a professional, but in our business, it's making sure your contracts are filled out all the way. Yeah. Some people leave tons of blanks on their contracts, or making sure you're showing up on time, making sure you're dressing appropriately, making sure you're wearing your name badge. And I feel like our face is every deal, like no matter what.
Agreed. Yeah, but there's so many ways that you can go about it. And also, touching on a point that you talked about a little while ago, it's so important as a new agent to know that it's okay for you to go back to your broker to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Just say, "I don't know the answer to that question, but like I will get back to you in 30 minutes with the answer."
Don't lead them astray.
Right. I know
so
people
important.
are smarter than me, and they're gonna have a better answer, and I don't want to. I want to give you the
people
right
respect that more than you trying to come up with an answer on the spot and then giving them the wrong information and having to go back to them.
Yeah.
Be honest.
And then you look silly if you give them the wrong answer.
I want to transfer over. Okay, we want to go back because we take one. We talked about your door knocking.
Yes.
And how you like going out. Tell us about the success story you had again on now that we're in take 2. The success story you had with the door knocking and getting the listing. Tell us how it prepped it, and what was your attitude, because you had sold the other house, but you still were working that neighborhood.
Yeah, the first house I sold was a sphere of influence deal. She really took a chance on me, and I feel like I went above and beyond and did a great job. It was a multiple offer situation, and we got it like under contract within 3 days. It was great. It was the best feeling ever, a really motivation boost. So after we sold that house, I was like, I have nothing in my pipeline. So what can I do that's free? Being a new business owner, not having a ton of money, I can go buy some stuff, put together some really cute goodie bags, and go door knocking. And that's my big tip for door knocking, is always have something that you can give out, because if you just walk up and start talking to people, they're going to close the door in your face. I sent out postcards, my just sold postcards, after I sold that first listing on the next street over. And it was about a week after. I did a door knocking another week after that, so the postcards were fresh on everybody's mind. So I was knocking around, I had some good responses, so I'm like, hey, I've seen your face, so it really did work, the postcards worked. But I went up to this one door, knocked, and I was like, hey, how are you doing? My name is Madison, I'm like a local realtor, I just sold your neighbor's house on the street over. She's like, I recognize your face from somewhere. I was like, I just sent those postcards out. Did you get my postcard? She's actually, I held on to it.
What was on the postcard?
Yeah, so it was my favorite picture from my listing. That's why professional photos are so important.
So a house they would recognize in the neighborhood.
Yes. Okay. And they had a beautiful pool in the back. It was super great. So yeah, so a picture they would recognize, and then it had my face on it. Super important to have your face on everything, even though it can be annoying sometimes, have your face on everything. And then the price it sold for, because it shocked this customer. It was like, wow, she had lived in this house, the one I door knocked at. She had lived in this house for 44 years. So she had bought it at a way less of a price, and was like, I was shocked. That's where the conversation took a turn. I was shocked what this house sold for. And I was like, you know what? I could do a CMA, comparative market analysis, on your house, and I could tell you what yours worth. Because she had the same amount of bedrooms, bathrooms, pool, square footage that the other house sold for. So I had kind of a good idea.
Right.
And she kind of...
Did you give it to her right there? Did you say anything? Because I know you said you came back the next day.
Yeah.
You kept her...
Yeah, I like the cliffhangers. Yes. Yeah, I like the cliffhangers, but it's super important to set a day and a time you're going to come back. Because if you say, I'll come back, whatever. Who knows? She could go talk to another realtor because now I have this idea in my head that my house could sell.
And she starts talking to her sister who says go use this real estate agent.
Yeah, because she knew 4 or 5 and she told me that in the listing appointment the next day. So basically I told her, hey, I will get comps and I'll get everything ready. I'll meet with you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Showed up to her house, went through the whole thing, told her what her house could be worth. I also I always go through and say, hey, how's the roof? How's the 4-point items? All that type of stuff too. Just making sure. So I was like, hey, giving her the real situation. This might need to be fixed in order for things. That's super important in the listing appointment for me, at least.
This wasn't really a listing appointment, though. You just were coming back over to tell her what it was worth. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I took the professionalism of a listing appointment.
It became a listing appointment.
Yeah. Because so I was just going over the comps and everything, and she's, I want to sell. At the end of it, I was like, okay. I had to, walk her through the contracts and everything like that. But yeah, she was ready to sign by the end of that day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have my second deal. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I have something in the pipeline. So yeah.
You just don't know. You have to turn over the rocks is what I call it. It's turning. You have to turn over the rocks to find out who's there. And on any given day, I think it's so important. I think you asked me earlier, who do I have on the show, right? Well, one of the first things that clicked through my mind is I like to have people who are on social media because they're going to share, or when I put out the reels of the show, that they're going to be sharing. The same way, so I'm staying top of mind.
Right.
The same way that as a real estate agent, you have to stay top of mind because not everyone's ready to sell now.
Nope.
They might go 44 years without selling.
Yep.
But somebody's going to get on their radar screen as their go-to real estate agent.
Yep.
We talked about the neighborhood. The reason why I asked you what was on the postcard is because it's funny, I haven't seen it in my neighborhood, and I'm trying to convince my wife that let's do a regular postcard, because there was an agent who used to do it all the time and always say, hey, in the last quarter or last month, however often she was doing it. Well, these are the houses that have sold. This is how many square feet they were, and this is what they sold for. People hold on to those cards.
They do.
Yeah.
They don't throw those away. I have a Patty Ketchum story. I don't want to delay us here anymore, but that talks about that. And when I was interviewing with her, how her mother literally had a stack, and it wasn't from her, it was from an agent who was farming that neighborhood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But she had a stack of these cards, like, okay, you only need one, and those houses sold 5 years ago. No, she had a stack with a rubber band around.
Mom, the market has changed since then.
It's the same phone number, same person. It's So are you working this neighborhood? Is this something in your, because you mentioned earlier your podcasts and stuff that you are listening to?
Yeah.
Are you kind of like farming this neighborhood?
Yes. So I actually, funnily enough, did an open house on this second listing I got, and I got a buyer from it.
Holy cow.
And sold another house in that neighborhood. So
awesome.
Right around the next street over.
So you sold 3 houses in the same neighborhood all in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's just a couple of my deals, but yeah, no.
Now, are you starting to set up something regular to be continuing to farm that, or have you working out thought of that? Where are you at with that?
So I have since moved to Middleburg. So I've kind of changed my farm. I want to set it up in Middleburg. So I'm actually going to do Popeyes today in my own neighborhood. But yeah, so really changed it up. I mean, I will call and touch base with the buyers, because obviously I have the buyers' information on both sides. I do Popeyes maybe every 6 months or so.
Well, maybe you ought to hand it off to Hannah since she's closer.
Right, yeah. Hey. You gonna do some door knocking?
You want a referral fee?
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I would if I was closer, but yeah, no, there's definitely action in that neighborhood.
Maddie, if you were to narrow it down to say 1 or 2 things that you think got your real estate career off to a good start, what do you think they were?
That's so hard.
Put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you the same question. So you be ready.
Get ready. Really try anything and everything, and don't buy into everything that's on the market. Because if you're going to try buy into all of those lead programs and everything, you're going to go broke in your first year. Really try anything and everything that's free, and put some, hard work into it, some elbow grease into it.
You can't just do it one time and expect a response.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you try it, and then try it again. Try trial and error. So yeah, really, really.
All right. So willingness to try.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Did she say something before that?
Well, door knocking's been so successful for her,
yeah.
so I feel like that's one.
How important was it that you were given all these ideas of how to market, which you may not have realized before you got into real estate, but you listen to people talk, hey, door knock, you can do this or do that, many, social media, whatever it is. But you found what you like to do with your personality. How important was it to find that fairly quickly?
Super important. Yeah, I just I love to talk to people. I'm a people person. So any and every occurrence that I could tell people I was a real estate agent was super important, because a lot of my sphere of influence knew that I was in like the medical type of road. And then to hear I'm a real estate agent, they were like, are you going to do good at that? Yeah. So,
well, the one, they want to see if you want to stick in it.
Yes.
Are you going to stick to it?
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you probably have people who are good friends with you. Maybe at this point they're still referring to someone else.
Yeah.
Because they're going to see how, are you going to stick into it another year? You're going to say, and now they're going to say, oh, Maddie's been doing this 3 or 4 years now.
Yep.
I need to start referring her.
Yeah. So me hitting $1.3 million in sales this year, just in the first couple of months, was amazing. People are like, whoa, you hit...
It wasn't even a full year. You didn't even start till March last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like, whoa, what? She can
just
produce.
for the 2024 year,
yeah, it was just
already
23.
hit $1 million.
Yeah.
Well,
only for the first 3 months.
Oh, you're already over $1 million for the year. Oh, yeah. Wow.
She's been very successful.
So you're on a good $5 to $6 million. Hopefully, summer might even be.
I would hope so, but we'll see how it pans out.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's been very great. Yeah.
Yeah. 1 or 2 things that you think has been your success, and even if it's advice from Walter, right? We'll. I know he's giving it to you all the time, so go ahead.
I think what's so important is your sphere of influence, and that's what I feel like people preach to new agents. Dig into your sphere. And
okay, a lot of people say it. What does that mean to you? What are you doing to dig into your sphere? Explain that. Dig deeper into that.
I mean,
because there's many people who are doing that different ways.
Yeah.
What way is working for you?
Well, I think just the follow-up, picking up the phone and calling people who, you may not have talked to in a little while, like who you graduated high school with, or teachers that you had, or whatever it is. But even for me, I'm a part of something bigger than myself, such as a book club. I'm going to book club and I'm trying to create those relationships, and come to find out, me and my dad had a listing recently in Deerwood, and one of my ladies in book club looked at my listing and she was like, I know that name. I think that girl's in my book club. Called me, Hannah, I saw that you're the listing agent for this home. Will you show it to me and my husband? Showed it to them. They loved the house. Buying the house. I listed their house. We're under contract on their house. Awesome. I feel like it's just your sphere of influence, but also the groups that you're in. You need to hang out where other people hang out. You can't rely on business just to come to you. You have to go out and get yourself out there and be around people and socialize with those people so they can see the true you, so that they know, okay, this is who I'm going to get as a real estate agent as well. Not just the business aspect, but the person you are.
Let's tap into this and get both of you guys' angle on it. The socialization of real estate. I think a lot of people, especially if they come from corporate America, at 5 o'clock, right, they're out the door type of thing.
Right.
In this business, you are really always technically working.
Always.
It's almost like being, someone famous where the paparazzi are watching. You don't have the paparazzi watching you.
No, but
you're out
your
talking
own
to people.
Billboard,
you're out talking. You go to friends, or you go, hey, I'm sure you guys are young. You guys are going out and doing things on the weekend. Hey, we're going to a bar. But over time, everyone in that book club knows that you're a real estate agent. You don't even have to tell them.
Right.
You don't have to be forceful. Say, here's my card.
Yeah.
And introduce. It's just you start talking. The natural thing is, hey, what kind of work do you do?
It comes up in conversation.
Everyone's doing something, so that's a common question. Or, hey, do you have kids? That's a common question to start a break and ice type of question and start a conversation. And then now the doors are, I'm in real estate. Oh, okay, great. Now,
how's the market?
Well, and now you're adding them to your database, right? You're putting those people in there, and you start, feeding them. So how because it sounds like, Maddie, you've taken on, just basically in your conversation, that is you. Yeah. You've immediately molded it in that I'm Maddie, the real estate agent, 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like to shove it down people's throats by any means, but I do make sure it comes up in conversation so people know. I like to wear my badge when I can. Stacey's been really good about reminding me to do that.
I was going to say, when you go to the grocery store, wear your badge.
Yeah.
When you are out shopping at the mall, wear your badge.
People
ask you when they see it.
Yeah, I went to Publix and I was checking out and I had my badge on and the cashier was talking to me about how she had a couple of hard customers come through and I was just listening to her nodding my head and she was like, "What are you, a mental health therapist?" I looked up and I was like, "Actually." she was like, "Yeah, same thing." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll listen to you all day. Just let me know," because I go on there weekly. So yeah, no, it was funny. I was like, "Well, yeah, no, I get what people mean now. We wear multiple hats."
Well, and the beautiful thing too about wearing our badge everywhere is I was at a gas station one day and I was checking out and someone was like, "Are you a real estate agent?" And I was like, "I am." "Are you interested in real estate?" Because he kept asking me questions like, "Do you like it? What do you do? How busy are you?" All these things, all these questions. And I was like, "Are you interested in it?" And he was like, "I actually am." And I just handed him my business card and I was like, "Call me if you ever have questions and want to get into the business." And that's the beautiful thing. Meeting other agents and being able to bring them into Exit and not being that recruiting type, but being like, this can grow your business too. Sponsoring people in, you're making a residual income off this stuff. Right. So I think it's important wherever you go we never really turn it off as agents. I feel like we're always on and
but it's, you make it part of your lifestyle because it's not, the strain of work. It's not like you're thinking about it. In that case, that person just saw your name tag and started talking to you.
Yeah. Well, and I don't really, I've always kind of looked at real estate, not really as a job, but more of like my hobby because you are creating those relationships with people. And to me, that's not like a job. That's me just being me, and that's what I like to do, and I like to help people. So I have the mindset of, I get to wake up and do this job every day. Yeah. I get to post on social media. I get to go to open houses, and it's fun. It is fun, and it is hard, and I think new agents need to know that you have to grind, and you have to try, and you have to be trained up the right way, and you have to understand what you're doing, but if you're doing all the things, it pays off. It's paid off for both of us, and I really enjoy it.
Let's talk about the grind a little bit. I know we did on take one, and since this is take two, and this is the actual one we're using. May I want to, like I said, the mindset. You have a child right now, so your daily routine is
different every day.
Fluid. What are some of the things that you're picking up, maybe from experienced agents, through listening to podcasts, that you are implementing into your daily? Because, like I said, you're 1099, and I think the first person, an older person's gonna look at, I bet you they sleep in till 10. They don't, that type of thing. And if you're gonna be successful in this business, you have to get up. Some people like to get up early. I know your dad, he gets up real early and sets his day. Some people need to do that. What are some things that you've picked up and implemented in your business as far as daily routines that you like to do?
I think time blocking will forever be the best answer to this. I am a person that is super type A, so time blocking is great. Now every section of the day is not given to real estate. You also have to time block out your life. You have a kid, so taking care of your kid, when nap time is, when you can scurry off to go do stuff. For me, it's, taking care of this new house I live in, or, going grocery shopping. Those are also, time blocking things. And yeah, that's just my big one.
Did you expect because I imagine if you've had a deal, you've had this happen where sometimes it's 8 o'clock at night and you're having to, do your therapy consultation.
Yeah.
The deal might be in process and you're still trying to, bring your buyer or seller, bring them down to earth so they can sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Type conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Did you expect that or no. Kind of were told about it but didn't realize that this is what happens?
I thought people would have a little bit more courtesy towards, oh, wow, it's Thanksgiving. I probably shouldn't give them a call. Yeah. But
can we wait till tomorrow?
Yeah. No, you answer your phone. You do. And you have those 3-4 hour conversations. Or I've been on the phone for 3 hours explaining an inspection report and going through every small detail just to make sure my buyer felt very comfortable getting into this and moving forward, and they need that, and that's what I saw they needed. So I didn't realize that I was signing up for that, but would I change it? No, because it helps build those relationships just that much more. So
100%.
I'm pretty bad about shutting myself off, and I think as a new agent, I tried to overwork myself. I felt like if I didn't answer an email right away, if I didn't answer a phone call at 9 o'clock at night, when I got a new online lead, in the system that I didn't call him right away, that lead was going to be gone.
That possibly can happen.
That possibly can happen, but at the same time, it goes back to you are your own boss. And if you want to take the business on at 9 o'clock at night, if you want your customers to know that you're open at 9 o'clock at night, do it. For me, I had to really say, I'm going to shut myself off at 8 o'clock at night because I can't be the best real estate agent I can be tomorrow if I'm up till 11 o'clock answering emails and doing all these things. I focus better when I can get, I can shut it off. I can spend my family time. I can go to sleep. I can do what I need to do. Yeah. Be a human and take my real estate cap off. Be a mom. Be a wife. Do what I need to do. And then the next day, here I am. Nothing, hopefully, unless you're out of your timelines, is going to blow up overnight. Right. People understand that you're a human too. Some people do, some people don't. Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing too. There's two people are in my mind. I would listen to their show podcast with me first, and then I think you guys should sit down with. One is Carrie Carpenter. Actually her show hasn't even gone out on I think audio. I've seen some reels. Carrie Carpenter on the time, because at some point your business is going to get to the point like her. She's only been in the business 3 years, and she did 51 deals last year. Yeah. Wow. So at one time she had 10 transactions going on. Oh my gosh. At one time. So how she sets the expectations, that kind of thing with the bar. Yeah. So from the time thing with it, the other one, I think for both of you guys, because and I've had many locals that have grown up here. Obviously, Jordan Ferrer is one. She's in our Orange Parky, and she's over in that area. But I really think Sophie Gordon. Okay. In listening, because she says she really primarily, it's all being top of mind on Instagram. Yeah. She grew up here. She knows, and she feeds that circle of influence. The kids you went to high school with, kids you went to college with here locally, UNF and so forth. I mean, and how's I would listen to both those, and then I'd ask them to go have coffee or lunch with you. Yeah. And actually sit down and dig a little deeper into what was talked about on the podcast. But Sophie, just in 3 years, and she's not much older than you guys. She's 3 or 4 years older. Oh wow. Yeah. But how she takes every transaction as that building relationship. She's although not everyone's going to be your friend, but she wants to build that you are like friends by the time that transaction's over, because that's where your next referral from. Yeah. Or who knows? It might be 3 years, and all of a sudden you just don't know when they know people who are ready to do a transaction. I'm a big Brian Buffini person. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of trainings of his at our office. We listen to his, predictions of the next year, all these things, and he says your A+ customers, your biggest cheerleaders. Those are the people you don't think that you need to be feeding into those people. Yeah. But they're the most important people. I mean, they're giving you multiple referrals every single year. They are your repeat customers. They are your biggest fans. And people think, my grandma's going to refer me. My mom's going to refer me. At the end of the day, you don't know that. No. If they're hanging out in a social setting and there's another agent there and they're not standing up for you, that's one thing that we need. Like, we need those people to be our walking billboard. And I think that's the most important thing is reminding those people and those customers who do turn into your A+ customers, like I'm never too busy for your referrals. Well, and that is what Brian being in sales, when you've only done in real estate, if you did a dozen transactions in your first year, you're like awesome. You're an A player, right? But looking at decades in sales and going back and say, how much easier is it to go into the listing appointment that the Smiths that you sold their house last month, last year, or whatever, said, you need to use Hannah, or you need to use Maddie because they're just awesome. Mm-hmm. The deal is 90% closed at that point. Yeah. And when you go to them and say, hey, I recommend we do this because I did it for the Smiths and that's why they love me, they're just eating right out of your hand. Yeah. And it is the easiest listing appointment. It's yours to blow. You got to come in there and just really say something totally stupid not to get the deal. Right. Well, but also you've already had the credibility. Go into it with the mentality of I'm not going to get this deal. Go into it with I still have to earn their trust. The same they don't way know you treated the Smiths a year ago. You can't expect that your closest people and your referral people are going to use you. And I think that's a lot of the problem with agents, they don't get their repeat customers because they're not following up with them. They're not saying, how's your home a month later? Yeah. Is there anything I can do for you? Here's a market analysis of your house. You bought it 2 years ago and look what it's worth now. And people are like, whoa, my agent's still in touch with me. Like, she's not too busy for me just because she's top producer of 2023 or she's doing all these deals. Like, she still cares about me, and relationships are one of the most important things in our business. So.
Well, and you look back, and we're all guilty of this. We try to cut corners and whatever for saving time or make it easier, or because we mentally don't want to do it. But even, Carrie, you did 51 deals. Can I make 51 phone calls every other month or once a quarter? I mean, right? Yeah. She's already got her CRM and those type of things, putting stuff out to them. They're watching her on social media.
Yep.
But every 3 months, every 90 days, could I make a phone call a day to one of those customers I had last year? How difficult is it? Even if you just leave a voicemail.
Yeah.
Or maybe one quarter you send a text and you try to call and they missed a call. You don't even have to really talk to them. The fact that you called them, they see that you called. You're top of mind. You're top of mind. You're trying to reach out to them.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we try to find reasons not to do that. But when you look back, like, how long would it take for each of you in your short 24 and 12-month career to go and call every customer that you actually have done a transaction? Not that long. You could do that probably on your way to your next appointment, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But we're not doing it, and how important it is. And that's why I really enjoyed Carrie and talking to Sophie, amongst others. Just those two came to mind for others that might be listening and that do a great job. I know Sophie, we and her drilled deep into Instagram and her being local in high school, that and how she gets a lot from her local sphere.
And every agent is so different.
Yeah.
She, might rely on social media, where to me, I do social media, but that's not where my business is coming from.
Yeah.
And you rely on door knocking. Yeah. And that's where a lot of your business is coming from. That's not where mine's coming from.
Yeah.
I really dive into my sphere and my friends and family and the referrals and all these things. And I think every agent is different, and that's the amazing thing about real estate is you don't feel like you're in competition with every single agent because everyone is different and they have their different group of people, and you're not fighting over that stuff. Focus on your own thing, and I think that's so important to new agents. Focus on your business. Don't focus on everyone else. Watch what they're doing. You can watch what they're doing, take little nuggets from them, but you're your own person and you're going to create your own business. And
one of the things I had 3 things new agents need to do today. That's one. And I think that would tag on a little bit of being with the right broker who's doing business the way you're comfortable doing business or supports your way you do business. Because if you're not getting out of bed every morning going, hey, I get to go do this because you like doing it and have had success with it, you don't want to get out of bed, and it's misery.
Right.
So I think there's a combination of, like you said, finding your marketing that Maddie did, is she likes knocking it right now. That might not last forever. That might last for a period of time, and all of a sudden it stops working. She's got to find something else and reinvent yourself, right? But to have the support from the broker, drilling down, consistency in what you're doing is basically what you were kind of saying there, right? Finding the right brokerage to match your business model and support you in that. Do we have one other thing you think if you were a girlfriend of yours wanted to start the business today, that they need to be doing or should do?
Take chances. Try everything. I mean, just really get out there, get uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone, because this job is not a comfort zone job. You have to try so many things, and
because you don't know it, you're nervous, right?
Right.
Hannah says she was nervous about coming on the podcast. She's pretty smooth right now.
Well, now she's killing it.
Now she's a pro. She's going to try to get on every podcast. But you don't know, and that's why you're nervous, right?
Yeah.
Until you knock on that first door, and then the person smiles at you, said, "Oh yeah, I'd like to know the value of my home," and all. You're like, "Oh wow, this ain't that hard.
Yeah.
I like doing this."
Yeah.
Type of thing. Yeah.
Your comfort zone is just the thief of what'll make you successful, honestly, in this job.
How have you guys handled the thing with we kind of talked about it pre-show and didn't drill into it on take one. Because I know you've had to have that person look at you or say something to you about being young or and only been in the business 12 or 24 months. How do you personally handle that? Because I think that how you handled it is whether or not you won that customer right away, how you answered it, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, we're probably going to have very similar answers, but I always push back and say, I mean, I know I haven't been in the business long, but I have the support system and the education that I need to make this deal successful and to create a relationship with you. If I do not know something, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to go straight to my broker and to my owners and ask them the best way to handle this, and I will bring that answer back to you. I'm not going to give you an answer that's not true just because I'm trying to show off. And and if I don't know, I don't know. And I will get back to you on that stuff. And I've had that come up many times in situations. I mean, my first 2 deals with a mentorship program were completely different than my last deal I had. And I still have questions. And I think we're always going to have questions.
Yeah, for sure.
The market is ever changing and the business is ever changing. But I think showing them like who you are, your true character, and that you're going to work your butt off for them and you are going to try your hardest for them, and showing them like that is my personality, and although I might not know every single thing along this process, I have the support that I need back at my brokerage who will help me get to the finish line.
Yeah, professionalism is everything too. I mean, just really, like when I was doing my open house on my second listing, there was a couple that came in that was unrepresented, and I just really told them everything about the house. Going into an open house, knowing the facts about the house. Lead with facts. I mean, that's where you can go. And then when you don't know, don't be afraid to be like, I have to ask my broker, or I actually need to look that back up on the listing again because I don't know how many bedrooms there are. I don't know. The square footage. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, just don't talk about, don't make up facts.
When the hot water was changed out. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Find out. Yeah.
I mean, those things aren't always top of mind. But yeah, I mean, just being professional and doing as much as you can, but don't go with like false facts,
Do you, when you walk in there, knowing you're only 24 years old, knowing that, obviously, sizing up your client, buyer, seller on the other side, that they're sizing you up, right? They're looking at that you already go in with that mindset and prepared mentally to overcome that obstacle, because I know a lot of older people, they may like you already. They're already going to give you the deal, but I haven't told you yet, but they're going to challenge you as a young person.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They're going to throw a curveball at you to see how you react.
Oh, I've had customers who have made it very difficult, and I leave that appointment and I'm very emotional. I cry and I'm like, I can't let that happen. I got it. Right. But you just have to go in with the confidence in what you've learned and what you know, and be your true self, and people fall in love with that person of you. They fall in love with you being your own person and not being like, well, I can do better than Joe down the street because I can list your house higher. Yeah. Don't start trying to compare yourself to other people. Be you, and if you don't get it, you know what? It's not meant to be, and there's so much other business out there.
Yeah, I've had other agents too just be like, you're new, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm new, but I can hold my own. And I show that in my negotiation skills, and they're like, wow, okay, you can hold your own. So just becoming comfortable with negotiating, you're not asking too much, never, question that, just always try.
What do you tip a little bit? You started tipping on a little bit. How you dress? Because I imagine immediately they're like, or if they already know you're only 24 years old, they have this preconception of you coming in, but you come in dressed professionally, right? You're, an older agent might get away with wearing a nice blouse and jeans and heels,
right? Yeah,
they might get away, but as a 24-year-old, they're sizing you up to see if you come walking in like that.
Yeah, being a professional is one of the most important things, and you can show that by dressing appropriately and walking in, and even shooting somebody a text, not being like, hey, so, I'll be back, and shortening your sentences.
Like you would to your friends or between you.
Yeah, but like even that, they're like, oh, this 24-year-old isn't really a 24-year-old in my mind. Like, she seems much more mature than that, and much more on top of things, and more professional, and I think that's huge. I mean,
what's given you that mindset? Because I think both of you have it. So is it come natural for you, or because you're training, you're listening to Buffini, and you're listening to these high level thought processes, the podcasts you're listening to, you probably throw some personal development things in you. Has that helped you?
I think it's a little of both for me. I mean, I think growing up and seeing people who are successful and seeing the way they do things, I'm like, that's how you're supposed to do it. But also, I think
because your immediate perception of them when they walked in the room, how they were dressed, you're
carrying
like,
themselves.
oh wow, this person looks, and you've tried to mimic that, if you want to call it.
Correct. Yeah. But I also think, you learn a lot of things, and I think seeing it firsthand, professional side of things, and the professional side. I want to be on this side. Yeah. I want to be with these people who are doing this stuff, who are very professional, because these people don't look good. Right. And I don't want to look like them. Yeah. So I think it's a little of both. I think it's the training I've gone through, but also the experience I've had from agents on other sides of deals or whatever it is. And then also just growing up and watching people who are successful and wanting to follow in those footsteps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, for me, I think it's you're building your own business. How do you want your business to look to everybody out there? Mm-hmm. You can either look really sloppy or you can look really good. I'm going to choose really good all day long. I'm going to dress up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what I need to do.
Well, I asked this because this is not a generational thing. I see this, in generations before me. I've seen this in generations afterwards. And people do need to accept you for who you are. But being younger, you kind of can be immediately, you're young and immature. That's an immediate, slot they can throw you in by how you present yourself. Are you prepared when you come in? Mm-hmm. An older person may be able to get away with things, or someone who they consider more seasoned, what they think is more seasoned in the process, but they can immediately pin you into a corner because you're so having that mindset. Because when I say, well, I'm going to be who I want to be. I want to come in and I want to, I'm going to the beach afterwards, or even adults where I don't understand the holes in the jeans type of thing. I don't understand. Whatever. But see, people, there's people older, more mature people immediately look at you and say, we're doing a real estate transaction. That may be how I am at home. I may be tatted up, but I'm covered up because I know in a professional setting that might offend some people. Right. And not going, oh, they shouldn't be offended. You understand that, and you need to be the neutral professional person. Mm-hmm. And having that that's me on the soapbox there. But the whole point is, the numbers, you got to get the deal. You want to create a relationship. Doesn't mean you have to go out to dinner with them. They might go out and do other things on the weekends or when you go do something else. That's just your lifestyle, but you create a professional relationship anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Ladies, is there anything I did not talk about that we want to mention here? I know you got your appointment to go to. You're looking at your watch.
Sorry.
I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you because this has gone now almost 2 hours because we had take one was blown. But I appreciate you coming on. I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. I know I did. And I was happy you guys came on. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
I think it's scary jumping into something that you are not familiar with at all. Yeah. And for me, I was familiar with it a little bit, but it's scary. And I think new agents just need to, if you want to be in this business, dive in head first, get the training you need, stick with it. Yeah. Don't get frustrated.
Search out the people who you can connect with. You obviously had, you saw your success, and not everyone has it, so they've got to find those people who are successful to go and
watch what these people are doing on social media. Watch what they're doing in real life. Go to the office and watch your top producing agent in that office, see what they're doing. Yeah. Watch them. Listen to their phone calls. Ask if you can shadow them at their open houses or their listing appointments or whatever. Watch what they're doing because you learn so much from firsthand experience. But I just think the most important thing for new agents is stay focused and stay motivated because it can work. You can be very successful if you do. A lot of people get frustrated.
And this is a great market to be in. There is demand. Things might be a little slower than they were in 21, but there's deals going on.
For sure. And that mindset, too, reminding your buyers and sellers, I don't want to buy because the prices are too high. Yeah. Or I don't want to buy because the interest rates are too high. Always switch that mindset. Mm-hmm. No matter what, the market's good. Real estate's never going to depreciate, and it's always going to be around, and it
might stagnate. Yeah, but you're generally not going to lose.
Generally, we're not going down. And just remind them, this is their biggest investment, and you understand that, and you are going to walk them through every process and every, bump of the road where you're going to be right there with them. But real estate is something that is so valuable, and it's never going to go away. Yeah. And as a new agent, we have to stay very focused and eye on the prize. What do we want? We want those relationships. We want to, create relationships with other agents, and we want to be successful. Yeah. But just reminding everybody.
Yeah.
While you're in
Maddie, anything you want to add?
Just get out of your comfort zone. I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. Most new agents that come to me now that I'm a year in.
Get out of your comfort zone to find your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Because you may not realize you're really good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of agents just be like, how do you even, because I'm trying everything. Because I'm doing stuff that makes me uncomfortable, but it could make me successful.
Right.
So just really get out of your comfort zone. There is no comfort zone in real estate. So.
And change your mindset, too.
Yes.
Because for me, I always thought it's always going to be no. People are always going to say no to me because I'm new or I'm young. And that's not true at all. They just want you to prove to them that you can do it. And that's what we need to do. And I think changing your mindset is huge. There's so many books that I could recommend probably to read, but we're reading one right now in book club at the office, and it's Ninja Selling, and he has changed your mindset. That is the biggest thing. If you're waking up every day and saying, oh, I'm not going to have another listing for another 3 months or whatever, talk to yourself in the present and say, I like to have 15 listings a year. I like to be top producer at my brokerage. It really does change things. And I think for me, like, changing that mindset of, I love the business that I'm in, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
I love it, and I'm going to stay motivated, and that's changed a lot for me, and I feel like made me stay on the right path and successful.
Well, I'm going to sign off with these two old souls that we've got here because we've gone their hours back to it. Ladies, I appreciate you coming on today.
Comment below how old you think we are.
Yeah. There you go.
I said
He's already said it.
I said it enough times that they were listening. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, thank you for having